That goes right into kind of the Vanderbilt. That's going to be a battle kind of for the low seed there in the SEC East. It's going to be between those two teams, I think. Although Tennessee could give them a run for their money, who knows? Vanderbilt plays Stanford. We mentioned this earlier. The loser goes right to the Ivy League. So and then they can go have their academics and all that. There is a few wins for Vandy. First year coach. You have Clark Lee there. Mason era is finished. He's now a defensive coordinator at Auburn, so kind of ties a bow on that. And I don't know. I'm torn on. I think it's a good hire for Vanderbilt. I think it's as good of a hire as Vanderbilt could have. That being said, it is very, very tough to win at Vanderbilt, and to have a competitive. To even really just to be competitive. So the kind of the guys that they're looking for, Kenny Seals, he's going to be a sophomore this year. Hopefully in a couple of years, that whole thing kind of grows. Like that's kind of who you're going to kind of hook your wagon to, because he's a talented kid. I mean, you can watch him play and see like there's some talent there. Hopefully they kind of just nurture him along. Maybe in a couple of years they can win a few games. I don't have him winning a whole lot of games this year. I think they lose to Stanford too. That's not going to. They're going to lose to UConn, which is going to be embarrassing. I have that losing to UConn on my list. That is a tough way to go down and not get to 4 wins. So yeah, it's you hate it for them. So yeah, I have the under, and apologies to all Vanderbilt fans out there.
I'm also in the under. I do not agree with the UConn statement. UConn is. Yeah, even though Vanderbilt is not a true SEC team as far as talent level, I do think they're too good to lose to them. And I think I expect them to beat ETSU and Colorado State. So that's 3 wins right there. However, I see them going winless in the SEC, so that's why I'm on the under. I like the hire of Clark Lee. To me, if you told Vanderbilt fans that Clark Lee could become their Pat Fitzgerald, former player, played for Vanderbilt, I could easily see him as a Vanderbilt lifer. Just he's that type of guy. Definitely an intellectual, not your just fiery rah-rah coach who's just constantly looking to climb the ladder. I don't see that as Clark Lee. I feel like he's got a good head on his shoulders. But he's also, I think he's the type of guy who could be happy competing for just bowl appearances every year. Yeah. And it would be a stretch to ever become Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern because they actually win their division sometimes. That's not going to be a reality at Vanderbilt. But I do like the hire. I do think that he could, in time, turn this into a team that can win 6 games more often than not. I don't see that this year. You mentioned Ken Steele started last year as a true freshman and wasn't terrible, and wasn't awesome, but like a solid quarterback for Vanderbilt. And he's the type of guy you hope can just have incremental progress every year. All 3 of their receivers are back. Their starting receivers, I should say. Their defense lost their best players. They had a few pretty good like edge rushers, but they lost those guys. They're probably going to be bad. But Clark Lee, we saw the job he did at Notre Dame. He's not going to be like an incredible recruiter, but he is going to bring in some high talent, or I should say like high ceiling, low floor guys that are just going to work out because he's going to find a way to develop them. And he, if nothing else, like he was a master at adjustments. Now, there's only so many adjustments you can make when you're just that much worse than everyone else. But I do think he will bring a sense of stability to this program if they can just figure out a way to, stable. Like that's what you need to be if you're Vanderbilt, is just figure out a way to not beat yourself. And I do think Clark Lee, of anybody, I trust him to eventually build a program that does not beat themselves. I do think they will be stable under him in the long run. If they can be 2020 Arkansas, that would be a huge win. Like that would be a really good job. I don't expect it because Arkansas had a higher baseline of talent, but I like the hire. Don't love this team. This line probably comes down to the Stanford game, and I just trust Stanford just a little bit more than Vanderbilt.
I will say just the one thing, because they lead off with East Tennessee State, and then they go to Colorado State,
Right.
and then they have Stanford. They may just stay out west for that week there. But with those games there, I mean, those are actually like sneaky. That's a sneaky trip. It's a hard trip west, I think. Colorado State is a team that is competitive. Like I think that'll be a competitive football game. So actually, sorry, they get Stanford at home. Sorry, I was wrong. So Stanford actually is a home game, and that'll be in Nashville. My fault. I still do have, like I said, I have Stanford winning that game, and then Vanderbilt will be shipped right on out of the SEC. But no, the game against UConn, they probably will win that. I kind of just threw that one in there. It was halfway as a joke. Like who does the loser just go to the FBS too? Like no, we kid Vanderbilt a bit, but no, Clark Lee was a good hire. That was a dream hire for Vanderbilt, and like you said, hopefully that does become kind of the thing. I think maybe just kind of a question though: how do you become the Pat Fitzgerald, and how do you become the Northwestern? Even kind of maybe even with the same vein of what Mark Stoops has done at Kentucky, to where take a team. Kentucky was not good by any stretch before he got there, and just to make them consistent. They're consistent and they know what they do, and they recruit players that not well. They don't recruit well, but they recruit well for their system, and they make it work for them. And that's kind of what both of those programs do. How do you become that at Vanderbilt?
Well, it's a little different than Kentucky just because of the academic side of things. And at Kentucky, if you could spell your name on the test, you're doing pretty good. But
wow,
that was a cheap shot. I'm sorry.
That was not nice. We apologize. We're being mean. We apologize to Kentucky and Vanderbilt fans. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So Vanderbilt, it's a tough job because you can't recruit everyone just based on the academic side of things. And that's why I compare them to Northwestern. It's a more difficult division by far than what Northwestern has. So, like, if you're Vanderbilt, you're not worried about competing with Georgia and Florida. You're just not. If you can make yourself good, like just solid talent. Recently, a defensive end, Darren Agu, decommitted from Notre Dame, committed to Vanderbilt. And he was the type of guy who we were pretty excited about at Notre Dame, just from the upside. He actually had an Alabama offer. 3-star guy, but like a pass rusher who has just raw talent. To me, that's what Vanderbilt has to do. Take those guys that are high ceiling 3-star guys, and you'll get a few 4-stars. You need to take advantage of that. Recruit the state of Tennessee. Take advantage of the fact that Tennessee does not know what they're doing. Be the adult program in the state. But then also like just make a baseline level of talent and just turn yourself into, we're not going to beat ourselves. And if you screw up, we're going to take advantage, and we're going to win a few games we're not supposed to win just because we know what we're doing. And we might not be more talented than you, but we're smarter than you, and we're going to execute better than you. And Clark Lee is going to make all the right adjustments at halftime every year. Last year, Notre Dame, North Carolina, Kyle Hamilton gets ejected for targeting in the first half. It looks like it's a real battle. And North Carolina is held scoreless in the second half by Notre Dame's defense without Kyle Hamilton. And that's Clark Lee. Clark Lee saw what was happening in the first half, pushed the right buttons, and it worked out. It's a little different in Vanderbilt because if you're losing 35-0 at halftime, like there's only so much you can do. But long term, I like this hire. All right, so okay, go ahead.
You've almost talked me into this. They finish up at Knoxville. They go to Knoxville and go play Tennessee. And I think Clark Lee I think he would coach Heupel right off the field. Like I really believe that, like on even terms. Like the thing is that Vanderbilt's not playing evenly.
Right.
You've almost talked me into the upset there, and then that would actually flip me into the over. Did you take the over, or did you?
No, I'm on the under for this year. I like them long term, but there's just not enough talent this year. I feel like I see 3 wins. Wouldn't be shocked by 4, just because you have Tennessee, Stanford, and South Carolina as potential wins. So I wouldn't be shocked by 4 wins here. I'm not comfortable picking it until we see a little more proof of concept.
I'm gonna switch my pick. This is my first time I think either one of us done this. I'm going to switch my pick. I'm going with the over. I am. So I think maybe part of the reason is just how much I think the other programs are bad. So yeah, no. Dang it! Am I really betting on Vanderbilt?
Well,
yeah.
you did say you're picking them to beat South Carolina, correct?
I haven't been beating South Carolina already. So
which means they just have to beat UConn, ETSU, and Colorado State, or Stanford, or Tennessee. So
I like my UConn pick. I have UConn beating them. So I'm going to hang on to my UConn pick just because if I get that right, that's the call of the century. UConn is probably the worst team in just like modern football. And just it's a bold take at the end of a long podcast. Let's go with UConn. But I do have them knocking off Tennessee. I'm changing that pick. Let's have Vanderbilt knock off Tennessee. We're taking the over there. They're going to get to 4 wins this year.
All right, I like it. Okay.